CCM, he insisted that it must be kept alive. And this is what we have done. I also have to take my hats off to Sonia Newman, who actually fell into the whole mindset of keeping CCM alive, even if we were not active on the streets. And the Bruno family at Point Michel, I must give credit to you guys. Any little meeting we called, you guys were there. Now we are back on track, and I know the president will outline the direction we're going to go. I think we're going to start once again intensifying ourselves and the issues we so deeply believe in, particularly election reform. Particularly election reform. We're going to bring back the intensity to that particular issue. Brother John?
Indeed. All right. Thank you very much, brother sir. Okay, let's give the people a little gospel music for 3 minutes, and those of you waiting to hear your name call, I'll do so before we ask the president, sorry, to say a few words. So please take a listen at this time.
The Lord above, down on my knees, I found my Jesus. Down on my knees, I found my Lord. It wasn't on the mountains, not in the valley, but it was on my knees. I found my Lord, but it was on my knees. I found my Lord. Oh, but it was on my knees. I found my Lord. My Lord. Down on my knees, I found my Jesus.
All right, folks, let me just quickly call the names. Now 618. And of course, first on my list is always my little princess, Gemaya, and her mom, Kedika. On to me at Salisbury, Delbert Blanchard, and your wife in St. Martin. On to Martha at Tyree Spitz, Jennifer Christopher. We have Brother Angelo Allen, and Long and family. Mr. Foy and family in Kulibistri. Francilia Isaac of Bellevue Roll, Ras Joseph, Jan, Wowon, Mr. Christian Puri, Ras Brigo at Point Michel, Edith Francois, the Tegas man. We also have our brother Dorian, Mr. Whitnell Louis. I've not seen or heard you in some time. Hope you are doing fine. Cyrus Raphael, better known as Sindo from Point Michel, Brother James and Daru from Gurup. We have Mr. Lionel Lafiel and your wife. I know you're always locked in, Mr. Lionel. Akela, Dana, Jessica. I just realized I said something that was out of order. Mr. Lafiel's wife is now deceased. Yes, she died some time ago, so my apologies for that. I have it on my list, was crushed out. So, Mr. Lionel, my apologies. I hope you are feeling much better at this time. Akela, Dana, Jessica, Noella Michelle, Kalunda, Manu, better known as Security from Tyree Spitz, Judith Dover from Guato Village, Susanna Rule, Maureen, Mr. Louis Robinson, and all the other CCM members, like Lofty and others, Dr. Clinton Lingford, Dr. Thompson Fountain, Dale Dangleben, Sam Christian, Dr. Irvin Pascal, Dr. Hazel Ricketts, Dr. Irvin Andre, Dr. Thomas, Dr. Hendricks Paul, my good old friend, Jid Woodman, Edith Abraham in the USA, Val Ferry from Port Michel, Mindy on High Street, Timeless Queen. We also have Vivi, that's our flower girl down there in the city. Sally from Warner, Jubin from Tyree Pit. Our brother Morris, I know you are locked in with your transistor radio and might call in soon. Sandra Sylvester, better known as Missan. We also have Robinson Charles of Campbell, better known as Small or Tiddly. Angel and daughter Abigail down there in Marigot. Ivan Nicholas, all man have the bone. Dion Philbert. That's a school name, you know. Ivan Nicholas. Ivo. He always calls it. He lives in St. Thomas. Dion Philbert. Brian Linton, the warrior. Tony Caesar and family in Totola. David C. Joseph, our dear brother. Good evening to you, sir. Ronald Murray. Also have the Moon Seria guys, Buju and others. Fafa. Marlonita. I hope you are locked in. I know you are sitting and listening to us at this time. I will pass and see you on Monday evening, okay? Agatha Samuel, better known as Carrot, the Bruno family in Point Michelle, Joan Frompton, Mapower, Janice, or Hermia Bruno. Also have Shirley Allen, Pape Palde, I've not heard you in a while. Blue and Lucille, the regulars, of course. The family members of Mr. Ralph Magua. We have Myrna Louis, Nerika T, and of course, we have Jessica. That's my good old friend. Very, very good friend, Jessica. I know she's listening at this time and she might be smiling as well. Mr. Norman Chilingford, the African brother. Mrs. Dobin Francis, Auntie Betsy, down here in Bath Estate, celebrated her birthday sometime last week on the 14th. Auntie Betsy must be about 94 in that region and very strong. Strong little lady, man. Fano, Lista George, Zed Lloyd, our dear brother. Blessings, Michael Cooper, Mr. and Mrs. Ozzy Lewis in MZOD. I hope you are doing much better, Mrs. Lewis, at this time. We have Tyrone Theophil, Tyrone Scotland, better known as Bully. Well, this one is in the calaboose. You won't be able to hear me. Also, we have the nurses, doctors, the lawyers, the post officers, the fire officers, Mrs. Desiree John, Ms. Nomata Rampel, down here in at Pottersville. You and your husband. I hope you guys are doing fine. Norma in New Jersey, we have Richie in Good Hope, Keith Matthew, Yolanda Roy, and her mom, Patricia, Adelaide Paul, Olivia, Philogen from Corleone, of course, all the other true patriots of the land, both home and abroad. We want to say greetings and best wishes to you guys. Anyone you guys want to say hi to?
Quickly, let me just
this is getting longer.
Greetings and quickly. Wow, Brother John, my little one Kai who's in the Virgin Islands. She should be back, you know, touching base probably shortly, but yet she's at school and doing well as usual. And I have to say to my sports rap crew, I understand the inquiry, but I'm alive and well and always listening every Thursday night. So Luis, I hope you're doing fine. You and your madam, Miss Dr. Lou Black. I know you had a very good carnival season with us. Keep it on and take care of yourself in the United States, as well as my dear brother, Sibo, Dr. Lockett. I am all right. I'm good. I went through some little stress, but that's over now. And let me also say, Monsewe, this is an invitation to you. We have to get back to the streets. I need to see you guys activate yourselves again. We have to get back to the streets. The streets is where the battle has to be won. Brother John, and I normally go through a whole long list. I'm going to cut it short tonight because I know the president. I'm going to yield some of my time to the president so he can go ahead and with his planned discussion tonight.
President Safra, go ahead, man.
Yeah.
I said I'm going to yield some of my time.
President Washby. President Washby. Yeah, last week I was short and brief, but you know, sometimes my fans will not want to forgive me, you know, for not highlighting them, you know. So tonight I'm a little thorough, but I'll do it quickly. Of course, my wife, Ernie Wallhouse. Want to shout out Mark in Fort Lauderdale, Sherwin in St. Croix, and Yakima. All of these are my siblings. Yakima in St. Kitts Nevis. Shout out my sister Hannah in Upper Kinfield and my brothers Bertie in Warner. Of course, my sisters in the USA. And shouting out from Florida with love, our regular caller. My fans in River-Siric, our fans, the CCM fans in River-Siric, Monjon, our list of names there, Tinom, Supi, John, DC, Mikey, Diane, Kimani, Jennifer. Jenna and Augustine Polidor in River Syriac, and of course in Montjean, our fans there, Jim, Jennifer, I haven't seen you for some time. Shouting out Andy, Ozzy, Capitan, and Cyrilia, you have returned from the States. Welcome back. Our friends Bo and Artie in Grand Fond. And of course, not forgetting all our fans in the East Coast, La Plaine, Daly Seas, Cassibros, Carib Territory. Our fans down there in Coliby Street, John Foy and the entire Foy family, the Loda, La Rox, Joseph, and all my family and friends down in Coliby Street, Monrachet, Salisbury, Collie, Obiosh, Dublin, Portsmouth. And of course, not forgetting our fans in Pottersville, especially Sharon and Free Lily, in Point Michel, Melvina and Vincent, Annette, Lilia, and the Brunos. And of course, our corporate friends, CCM members, Moonsewi, Patriots, Wednesday Walkers, Electoral Reform Coalition affiliates, and all our well-wishers, diaspora patriots and contributors. I indeed invite all of you to our program tonight and wish you happy listening and good night.
All right. Thank you very much, Washby. Touch all the folks, I suppose. All right, folks, it's now 6:27. And so probably lines for a few minutes for roll call. Let us see who's out there listening. So you can call at this time. It's now 6:28. Number to call at 449-3095, 449-3096. 449-3097, 616-4257. And the overseas number 305-432-9624. So feel free to call in at this time to register your presence. And before I forget, let me say happy birthday to Blue Blue. Someone just sent me a message and informed me that today is Blue Blue's birthday. So, Zawi, we have to pass at Baffa State after the...
Definitely pass. I hope the
door... After the program.
I hope she's going to keep that door open.
All right,
open. Yes.
Blue Blue, so if you are listening, please call and let us know if we are welcome and what time the party is going to start. All right, Blue Blue. Good evening. Happy birthday. I hope you enjoy the day and you're going to have a good evening. All right, folks. So please free to call in at this time. While we await your call, let me just surrender you with a little music.
God will make a way where there seems to be.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Always right on cue. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, most welcome.
Yeah, and it's a little sad for me in between because I lost my girlfriend today.
Oh, really?
On the day of my birthday. Shirley Shillingford. Like to mother so.
Ah,
okay.
She passed around maybe around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock there. So on behalf of all of us, let's wish him our deepest sympathy to Glenroy Soso Coffee.
Oh, you're saying it's so, ma'am?
Yes.
Oh yeah. My Shirley God, condolences.
Yes.
Yeah, Norman Shillingford, sister.
Norman's mom too?
Norman Shillingford in New York? Yeah, that's she's sister, his big sister.
Sister, okay. Oh,
yeah, his big sister, yeah.
Oh,
anyway, take it easy, gentlemen. I'm listening to you.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll always be remembering every time that they come. I'm going to be remembering.
Yes, you must. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And by the way, she just said that tomorrow will be my birthday. After I finish coming there for her, she tell me happy birthday, Blue.
Wow. That's something else. Eh? So she wish happy birthday before she wish me happy birthday before she left the earth. Wow. Interesting.
All right then. Good
All
night,
right.
gentlemen.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. You too. Bye.
He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my guide. hold me closely to his side. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way. Oh, God will make a way where there seems to be no way.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Yes, I'm sending my condolences to Glenroy Coffee on passing of his mom. That's coming from Alifia Reed of Fongoli.
Okay, Alifia, thank you very much. All right.
With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way. By a roadway in the wilderness, you lead me. Rivers in the desert will I see. Heaven and earth will fade, but his word will still remain. And he will do something new today. Oh, God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see.
Also, Sandra Sylvester is also extending her condolences to the family members of this Lawrence, what's his first name?
Soso's
mom. Yes, so thank you, Sandra. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Yeah, good evening. I'm calling to register, but also I want to really sympathize with my body. I'm Glenroy Soso Coffee. I just want to tell him to hold strong while he and the family walk in the shadow of death. The good Lord will see them through it all. You know, Glenroy, stay blessed, and I'll give you a call when I get home. I just heading home from work now. I'll give you a call, my brother. Just stay blessed. Nothing less. Take care of that.
All right, thank you. And of course, on behalf of CCM, we too also want to express our condolences to Glenroy Soso Coffee and his family, and just ask him to stay strong. I mean, there are going to be better days. You know, it's a time, you know, of sorrow. I can talk of my own experience when my mom passed, you know, and it's not an easy thing. I mean, having known your mom for your whole entire life, been so kind to you, you know, and then here it is, she has gone, you know. So it is a very painful thing, and so we are supposed to stay strong, you know, and just hold the faith, bro. All right.
Let me just say from the Thunderbirds family, condolences to our dear friend Soso, who normally for the past 8 years have been driving us, you know, with what foodstuff, drinks we have on the truck, both Monday and Tuesday. So, bro, you know you're in our hearts, and the family, the T-Birds family, is actually sending condolences to you and your family. Stay strong, be safe, and may her memory be a blessing.
Indeed. All right, folks, it's now 6:45, and let me also say that we won't be having the spiritual message this evening, so we'll have to leave it out for next week. It's already 6:45, and we have a very the opinion page there's quite a lot. It's packed, and then we have the way forward for CCM to be presented by the president, and a few other matters to be discussed. So apologies for not having the spiritual message. Okay, and besides that, I got a bit late this afternoon, so we haven't gotten the time to look at it. Okay, all right. Let's take a last caller, and we can move on from here. Good evening, caller. Right on cue.
Good evening, Blanche.
Hey, to you. Good evening. What's up?
Not bad, no.
All right.
I just come in from a funeral there, and I'm hearing that news there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let me sympathize with Soso. I'll go by him, but let me sympathize with Soso on the day for his mother.
It's a neighbor, right? So it's a neighbor.
My people self.
Yeah, people.
My people.
Your pal rep.
I will is me to have more.
All right, Blue Steel.
Yeah, I just come out to a funeral. I have to go to one tomorrow morning. That's how it is.
Yes, yes. All right. That's
Take care.
All right, you too.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So 6:46. So we're going to the opinion page, and I want you guys to listen carefully. Okay, it's a very interesting opinion page, and I also think we have quite a bit to share as well on the opinion page this evening. So please take a listen as we're about to present it to you.
On behalf of the scribe, I wish to thank Mr. G and Q95 and all the CCM supporters and members for facilitating the resumption of this program. We wish to extend a warm welcome to all our listeners back to the CCM program. Operation Rescue Dominica from kleptocrats of the shadow state threatening to overthrow the constitutional state. For the first 20 years of its independence, successive governments and citizens in general embraced the sanctity of Dominica's constitution as an instrument to protect Dominicans against governance misconduct and the abuse of authority. But in the over 20 years of this government, since 2004, politicians have bestowed upon themselves a cruel and wanton entitlement to power and a new sense of immunity. They have made pronouncements aimed at diminishing the value of the Constitution and dismantling all legitimate institutions which formerly existed to ensure the protection of the rule of law and to demand public accountability. Today, the government has systematically disfigured our country for personal benefit and cash, largesse. In its place, it has placed chains on the hands and minds of the citizens, relinquishing the divestment of ownership of Dominica to private foreign interests. In the past 20 years, Dominica has earned the dubious distinction as a preferred location for international crooks and criminals to acquire diplomatic positions. The directory of nefarious international diplomats includes such names as Alison Madueke, Ali Reza Monfared, Leroy Paris, and Jilab Singh, among others. In accordance with international judicial practice, some of these so-called diplomats have faced the consequences of their crimes in their respective countries. However, the architect of the program of diplomats for sale is currently occupying the position of Prime Minister of Dominica, and there is still no public accounting for the economic value that has accrued to Dominica as a result of these transactions. The government continues to violate the Constitution, the rule of law, and all democratic processes and institutions. For example, within the first 90 days of 2023, the international media was overwhelmed with reports elevating country risk on Dominica with an economic governance model vulnerable and apparently engaged in money laundering operations. Currently, there are only two commercial banks operating onshore in Dominica. However, there are about 50 offshore banks completely disconnected from the business affairs of ordinary citizens. Is there a direct correlation between the passport selling business and the proliferation of these offshore banks operating in Dominica? Has our country reached the pinnacle of corruption where a small group of people has hijacked the business of state and are now the driving force in national decision-making? In March 2023, international media reported that the U.S. federal prosecutors in New York were investigating Trump media for a criminal transaction related to its acceptance of US $8 million from Russian oligarchs channeled through the Paxum Bank, located in Dominica, of all places. 1 week later, the Wall Street Journal and other media reported that the U.S. Securities Exchange, SEC, had charged Justin Sun, a cryptocurrency entrepreneur and the founder of Tron Foundation, with fraud and the manipulation of securities trading activity. Guess what? According to Crypto Ordinance dated 7th October 2022, the Dominica government approved Justin Sun's Tron as Dominica's national blockchain infrastructure. Through this transaction, Dominica became the first country in the world to issue its own Bitcoin currency with absolutely no regulation from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the ECCB. Strangely, in response to the news of Sun's demise, Roosevelt retorted that fraud was no big deal, not a crime, and that Dominica was not connected in any way with the charges placed on Justin Sun. What rubbish. Evidently, the principal aim of the Tron Ordinance was to establish a platform to issue a digital version of passport sale to enable Justin Sun to revive the illegal crypto trading business in China. It is estimated that up to February 2023, the partnership with Justin Sun had produced over 150,000 Dominica digital identities. Was the Tron Foundation Crypto Ordinance used as a mechanism for divestment of ownership of Dominica to foreign interests, while Roosevelt and his operatives continue to plunder the nation's sovereignty? Is this abuse of authority similar to the violation of the Constitution that enabled Anthony Hayden of Montreal Management Consultants, MMC, to manage over $4.2 billion of state assets outside of the Consolidated Fund? In association with Justin Sun, Dominica has gained notoriety as a pioneer in cryptocurrency with no accountability and no regulation by central bank. In the interim, MMC has been designated as a preferred contractor for all public sector housing projects, all healthcare centers, as well as the proposed international airport. MMC has become so powerful as to wield influence over ministerial and political appointments in Dominica. Unless and until the perpetrators of such economic injustice and violence are exposed and prosecuted, the controllers of Dominica's patrimony will keep on subverting the democratic will of the people. Unless and until the perpetrators of political repression are held accountable, they will continue to undermine the sovereignty of the Commonwealth and eventually overthrow the Constitution. Isn't it long overdue to organize a people's court to enable civil society to establish investigative people's hearings into the abuse of Dominica's passport and the odious exploitation of his assets by Roosevelt and his foreign agents? Is it not time for civil society to aggressively fight to end the situation in which citizens by birth become second class in their own country? Is it not time to take back our country and rebuild an efficient and ethical governance structure and restore state integrity? Is it not time to demand that Roosevelt be held accountable for the excruciating, traumatic atrocities meted out to citizens? Is it not time, brothers and sisters?
Yes. Well, these guys are getting more powerful day by day, brothers, and watch me. Real powerful message, real powerful writing as well. And of course, we always take a few minutes or two to thank the scribe and the narrator for doing such a spectacular job on this opinion page. And I know for a fact that the public is appreciating it because they meet me every time after the show and express how much they appreciate the message that is being delivered on Friday evening by the scribe, and of course the way in which Arundel Thomas also presents it. All right, so folks, we are here again. That's our second Friday, our second program for the year. Like we just started last week Friday, and so we are back with our message from the scribe, which I know that you also appreciate, and we'll keep it going for as long as we can, as long as the scribe gives us his commitment to do it. We will be having it for you at every program. All right, just to make a few comments on the opinion page. Like I said, it's a very interesting piece of writing by your scribe. It's factual, it's current, I must say, and it's quite a mouthful of relevant and information and food for thought. Okay, and the public needs to take in that message, they need to digest it, they need to assess it, they need to evaluate it, and not just that, they also have to act upon it. And most importantly, we ought to act on such a message. Just to highlight and more or less simplify some of the main points in the scribe's message, so that the ordinary barefoot man can understand, because the writer is quite a bit, and I mean, the scribe is a very intelligent and qualified man, so sometimes his writing is not always palatable to the ordinary barefoot man, so we need to break it down, in the simplest form, so to speak. So the ordinary man on the road, can understand what exactly is in the message. Of course, the guys of a higher education and so on would understand it from the word go, but you will appreciate that not everybody is on that level to really understand such messages in the way it is presented. So to make it in a simpler form, the message speaks about the Constitution being our protection. Okay, it gives our human rights. In there, it talks about our human rights, justice. Okay, which, like the scribe said, was embraced for the first 20 years of our independence. Yeah. What we have seen after that period is a total disregard, disrespect, and setting aside of our Constitution. They have not been recognizing the value, and I say they because I'm talking about the powers that be. They have not been recognizing the value of the Constitution, and more so has dismantled all the associated institutions which were established to ensure that the rule of law and public accountability is practiced. Now, let's just look at a few of the institutions that I just referred to that were dismantled and also referred to by the scribe. First one that comes to mind is the Integrity in Public Office, the IPO. From a 7-member commission, a well-balanced commission, to a 3-member commission. We once had 7 members on the IPO. We had a representative from the Pastor Association. We also had a rep from the Business Forum. I believe we had one from the churches, 2 from the opposition, and 2 on government side. 7-member IPO. Well-balanced IPO. What happened to it? It was dismantled, and we now have a 3-member IPO. 1 nominated by the government, 1 by the opposition, and the other by the president upon advice by the prime minister. So in effect, you have 2 for the prime minister and 1 on the opposition. So it's really a scary IPO. It's a Labour Party IPO, period. So what do you expect to get from it? And what was the first matter that they dealt with? The previous IPO actually was taking the prime minister to court because he could not explain his wealth as opposed to his legal income. So the man decided something, or don't take me to court, I will dismantle that thing, and I'm going to bring in my people. Simple as that. So when the scribe talks about institutions being dismantled and so on, that was one of them, the IPO. Then we have the Electoral Commission. That too should be an independent body, but has been politicized. it has been overlooked. It has been overlooked. Because when you have the Prime Minister giving Byron, for example, a one-man assignment to look at electoral reform, and you have a commission, that commission has been overlooked. It has been set aside. When the commission requested for some $300,000 plus, I think that's in 2017, thereabouts, to start the electoral process, to have complete re-registration, that finance, the money was never made available to the IPO. So they're already toothless tiger. They are there in name. But the politicians, the ruling party has control over them. When Scavit called the snap election, the commission was not ready for an election, but they kept their mouth shut for the fear of victimization. And they proceeded with that snap election, knowing fully well that they were not ready to conduct that election. So they too has been dismantled. What about the judiciary? In particular, the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecution. We have all seen the manipulation in past and current cases. Cases that should have been in the courts, but were struck off. And we also have those bogus charges against members of the opposition that are still before the courts several years after, that should not have been in the first instance. We have the arrest and charging of citizens arbitrarily for walking. We have the tear gassing of peaceful citizens protesting for electoral reform and other matters. And there are many other unjustifiable acts by this cabal and their enablers. Many others. So I say all of this to show you how our constitution, our laws has been set aside by this ruling administration. And they believe they can do what they want, they can abuse power, they can abuse state resources, they do what they want as they want. The scribe also speaks about the two commercial banks. He said that currently there are only 2 commercial banks operating onshore in Dominica, on island. At the same time, there were 50 offshore banks located in Dominica. What should we say, located or registered? Because I'm not sure if they're already located there, but they are registered in Dominica. They're operating there. Be it they are there physically or not, because they have all this kind of a bogus thing, where you register, but you're not there at all. So that is something, that is another topic by itself. So we have 50 offshore banks located in Dominica. And the scribe is saying completely disconnected with the business affairs of ordinary citizens. In other words, these banks have nothing to do with us. It's all about the passport sales, it's all about, the corruption and so on. It's nothing to do with all the citizens where you go and do your transactions and do transfers, nothing to do with us, nothing whatsoever. Sasi Papo no. Okay? They have their own clientele, so that is what is going on. That's the first, at all. Okay? Now, the scribe goes on to say that there is a direct relationship or connection between the passport selling business and the increasing numbers of offshore banks operating in Dominica. Okay, folks? So what we're seeing here is that our country has reached a pinnacle in corruption where a small group of people has hijacked the business of the state. A small group. They have hijacked the business of the state, and they are now the driving force in national making process. That is what the scribe is saying to us. And we fully endorse it. Okay, in other words, what the scribe is saying is that we have lost control of the management of our country. In simple words, we have lost control of the management of our country. Foreigners with the assistance of passport peddlers, are running things here. And this has and continues to put a bad name for our country. I suppose we must have heard or read about that $8 million US transaction for which the Trump media is currently being investigated. Putin Dominica again. Bad name for the country. We also heard of this Justin Sun guy and the cryptocurrency saga involving our nature isle. My people, tell me something. Tell me something, my people. Since when our little Dominica name has been involved in all that commerce, in all that corruption, little Dominica, all that commerce, all that corruption, all that twaka. Ever so often, Dominica's good name is embroiled in some ugly scenario, in some unprincipled, unethical, unprofessional, illegal activity. And you know, what is sad about this situation is that the more we talk, the more it happens in our faces. Because Dominicans are still asleep. Sound asleep at that. One man rules the Labour Party administration, and rubber stamped by 20 plus rubber stampers has failed us miserably. They have plunged the country to rock bottom, has created an increase in poverty and unemployment despite the 4,000 plus persons employed on the NEP. The Prime Minister of this country, the leader of the Labour Party, the man who says he runs things in Dominica, continues to violate the laws and the Constitution, and we sit by and look, or perhaps I should say, we sit by and talk. The decision for the government to invest money in the cryptocurrency scam is illegal. Clearly, it's illegal. This is not regulated by the central bank. Neither does our laws make any provision for that type of investment. None at all. We also have another violation of the Constitution that enables Anthony Hayden of Montreal Management Consultants, MMC, to manage over $4.2 billion of state assets outside our consolidated funds, outside the Treasury. This same MMC has been the leading contractors on island to construct all public sector building projects, health centers, as well as the proposed international airport, if that ever happens. I want to ask a question before I end. When are we as a people going to stand up and demand proper accountability of our country's resources? When are we going to stand up? When are we going to hit the streets by the thousands and demand the resignation of the incompetent so-called government? Folks, ladies and gentlemen, you the listening public, Brother Zah and Brother Washby, you in the diaspora, wherever you are, listening to us, and from whatever medium you are listening or viewing us, it is time to take back our country. We have spoken enough, and we have worked enough for peace and justice or whatever else you all are working for. It is time to take it to the next level. Let's get ourselves organized and free this country from the morass it presently is, once and for all. Gentlemen, it's a good one.
Yes, well, let me first of all congratulate the scribe for this very important piece as regards opinion page tonight, Operational Rescue Dominica from Kleptocrats of the Shadow State, threatening to overthrow the constitutional state. What a piece, I must say. My few comments here really is based on the issues coming out from the piece. And quite clearly, it makes reference to the breakdown in terms of our constitution instruments. I mean, there is no doubt that following our independence, and especially from 2000 to now, we have seen on a scale the division from constitutional rule, and I must say a breakdown of critical institutions, a breakdown in the functioning and effectiveness of critical institutions. And you have mentioned some of them, John. I wouldn't go into detail. But what comes to light and to my mind is the whole question again of transparency and accountability in government. The piece makes reference to the offshore banks. In fact, I was quite surprised when I saw on social media the number of offshore banks operating, and some of them operating from the same or similar addresses. I asked the question, where is the FSU, that is the Financial Services Unit, which is charged with the responsibility for regulation and oversight of these financial institutions, and especially where it relates to the suggestion of the cryptocurrency. When the Prime Minister spoke on cryptocurrency, he placed the focus on innovation and the youth. But to my mind, where has the youth been educated or informed or consulted so that they could be aware and be ready to play a part? And then, I mean, you're talking about investments in cryptocurrency. Where is the money going to come from? Where is the income for the youth to enable them to play any critical role in that regard? So I see these strategies as suspect. We are hearing, and I mean, I have been listening to the international news, and there is a big concern on cryptocurrency over the world because of the fact that it is not regulated by central banks. It leaves room for money laundering and corruption. So we have to be very careful in approaching and bringing these types of innovation to Dominica. But the big question, to make it short, is where do we go from here? And the question, to answer that question, there is the need for the people to act. We have been accustomed over the years, I mean, if you have to itemize or enumerate the number of issues or that have come up, you know, with this present government, I mean, they always seem to be right, but we're talking about a multitude of issues over the years. And in one way or the other, some of these policies, some of these proposals always seem to be suspect. And we are well aware of some of the persons, like Madwiki and the others, Reza Monfared. I mean, these are real stories. These are not fiction. And I would expect by now the Dominican populace should be in a position to understand to what extent these initiatives can be of detriment to the proper governance, to the good governance of Dominica. So that this is my comments I wish to make at this time. I believe some of the issues, we will refer to them a little later when I talk about, you know, the way forward for CCM. These are some of the issues that we will be looking at very seriously. The issues of corruption, the issues of nepotism, the issues of, you know, under the table deals. You know, these are all the bad aspects of what showpiece in this piece from the scribe. So I will have another opportunity to discuss on some of those areas.
Yeah, okay. Fine job, both you and John. Fine analysis on the scribes. As I always say, critical thinking. And this is a critical thinking piece, just like all the other pieces. The scribe has submitted for CCM to discuss and for our listeners to get an understanding through our analysis of what the scribe is saying to move Dominica out of the state of corruption it is in. And very, very briefly, because as I said earlier on, I'm going to be yielding most of my time to the president so he could get into the way forward. But here are one or two things I would really like to take out or deduce from the scribes' critical thinking on his piece entitled Operation Rescue Dominica from Kleptocrats of the Shadow State Threatening to Overthrow the Constitutional State. Listen, he's dealing with two states, and we have to understand this. There's a shadow state, and there's a constitutional state. Very, very interesting. And we out there, we must understand it. Which state is really controlling Dominica? Is it the constitutional state or is it the shadow state? The scribe make it understood clearly based on a number of plugs or number of buckets he actually dug and put into his thinking that it is not the constitutional state that is not just managing, as Brother John said, but owning the assets of the state. They are not just managing the assets of the state. They are owning the assets of the state. And the shadow state, let's look inside the shadow state. And I hope I could find some time at some other program to have the scribe dig deep into that shadow state, which is confusing so many people. Because quite a few, particularly the supporters of the Labour Party, those enablers, and we have two sets of enablers. We have, you know, the intellectual, the smart academic enablers, the professionals, and we have the broader base of enablers, which are in the villages, the rural folks who support the party. Let's make no excuses for them. They are the larger base of enablers, enabling the Roosevelt-Skerrit regime to manipulate the resources of the state for his benefit as well as their benefit, not for the benefit of the nation. So that shadow state is a very critical, I should say, theory, a very critical idea, a very critical understanding. And we must understand what it is. What is that shadow state? Brother Washi, there's that shadow state. And we have to understand what is that shadow state. My God, we see, Brother John explained, Brother Washburn explained, the offshore banks, more than 50. We have people benefiting personally from the assets of the state. We have international crooks and criminals in that shadow state. We have diplomats for sale in that shadow state. We have private foreign investment in that shadow state. We have MMC in the shadow state. And we can go on and on and on to open out the activities, the relationships. Let me just qualify this. The corrupted relationships that are in that shadow state. And here is what the scribe is telling us. In order for us to get Dominicans involved in understanding what that shadow state is, we must have what? A people's court. And he said that in deep thinking, we have to arrive at a point and create a space where the people can address the shadow state.
Good point.
It is the people that must address the shadow state. And I believe Washburn, my president, may be addressing some of our thinking relative to doing town hall meetings in the constituencies, in the villages, to expose what that shadow state is. So let me just say to the scribe, as usual, great critical thinking. And let me say to the people that are listening to the message of the scribe, you will only get it from the scribe. Because those who are of his intellectual makeup, most of them, and his understanding of the relationships that exist within our state, is using that to benefit themselves, to keep the state corrupted, instead of using that intelligence to liberate Dominica from the shadow state. Brother John?
Yes, Brother Sir. And I find on fire on the comeback way.
I batted number 2.
Open bats, eh?
Number two. 1 and 2. I got one down.
One and 2 is open bats, you know.
Yeah,
but good presentation, bro. Good presentation. I love the point you made about the People's Court.
People's Court, yes.
As mentioned in the scribe's writing.
That's right.
I think the people need to seriously look at that, you know, because we can't get any justice from our
but the judiciary, and you mentioned it, the judiciary is compromised.
Exactly. It has been.
It's compromised. You can't get anything. It's the people. It's supposed to be the people's court.
People know, you know.
But it's not.
Have to decide, no?
Yes.
All right, folks. It's now 7:14. We have done quite a bit of talking. So let's just give you a little music for a few minutes, take a few calls, and then we will get back to Washby with the way forward for CCM. All right?
Maybe you might want a few calls on.
All right, folks. So we're trying to get our guy Hunter, the sock in the country, but it seems to have a little issue. Yes, let's go in circles and circles and circles. Let's see if we get something else. All right, folks. Sorry about that. I was trying to get Hunter, the Sock in the Country, 2005, when he sang that song. But there seems to be an issue.
Hunter again. It's a trap the country, it's a trap the country.
Okay, here we go, folks.
It's a trap the country, the blood of the country. Politicians, suck it up, greedy black man. Suck it up, they suck up with country, the blood of my country.
Good evening, caller. You're right on the queue.
Yes, good evening. How you guys doing? Welcome back from the sabbatical.
Yeah, man, doing good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You know, guys, I've listened to all the commentary from Brother Rondell. I listened to you all put your pieces together. And it's the same thing that we've been talking about for the last years, many years, even before the CCM program and all. But I always say to myself, I don't think my people recognize the extent of the damage that has been done. But tonight in particular, Zai just made a statement, the shadow state. Guys, I was coming down the road and I was listening to the scribe's piece that he put together, and he covered all the bases, the legal banks and everything, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But then he made a statement of the Constitution. Soon they will convert the Constitution. And I'm saying to myself, it already has been done. The shadow state.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where it comes in. The judiciary has been compromised. The legislators have been compromised. All three aspects, all three branches of government. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yes. So where are we going with the argument about the Constitution will be subverted? It already has been done. You, John, mentioned 7
IPO,
man responsible for the finances and prosecution of wrong corruption in political office. And you say down to a 3. So once that was done, that was a subversion.
Yes, oh yes.
Okay,
Totally
that was subverted to do just what is being done now. So we could just drive recklessly into the abyss and nobody knows. And like, okay, like today, you know, you guys know what they call what they call a buzzard. The buzzard feathers was
the buzzard is like a how you call it now?
Malfini.
A Malfini, yes, but it's like
when
a
Malfini feathers was ruffled today when the young lady asked the question.
Right,
and that's the attitude that he gave and the expression, the body language, is a form of guilt. He knows that he is compromised. He knows that the people are, but he don't care. So the problem is, in closing, the Constitution means nothing to him.
Exactly.
He has militarized the police, because I hear people talking about the courts and the police department. The police department is no more. It is a militarized unit. It's like a Tamtanaku, the G9 unit in Haiti. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing. They just saying, just killing people like random like they do on the streets of Port-au-Prince. But it's the same thing that you say or try to do some whatever. He sent his little puppets and, you know, it's the same thing. So the Constitution has been compromised. All branches of government has been compromised. So whether they change laws or not, it matters not. No Constitution or no laws can stop me from doing what I want and blah, blah, blah. Remember all these words coming down. So for what the scribe just put out there this evening and what I heard you guys discuss, it has already been done. What it is, it needs people to understand the depth of where the country is at, and they need to rise in numbers and stand against it by any means necessary. Whatever happens, happens. Because here's another thing. I heard earlier with Matt had a show, and they were talking about a gun issue while he was in Trinidad this weekend, right? They're talking about guns and educating you, all that. This is just a bunch of nonsense. But the gun issue, here they are trying to disarm all native citizens. But when Chinese can come in with their containers and nobody knows what's in it, who knows what they have? So if some break out, the regular citizens are not armed. African people dead in the water. Their guns have been taken from them. Everything has been. So I don't encourage anyone to go out there willy-nilly with a gun, shooting and acting reckless. But if a man want to have a gun and be responsible gun owner, you need a gun. So if in case some broke out, you need some. Because you can't have all your enemies with a gun and you ain't got nothing. You got a cutlass or whatever. But the problem is, the problem in the country has gone too far. And the shadow state, what you talking about, sir?
Yes.
Is the problem.
Is the problem, yes,
because
yes,
the country
exactly.
is now controlled in the shadow.
By the shadow state, yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, man. You're welcome, bro.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your great contribution. Deeply appreciated.
Anybody with some red agenda, walk across a bag of sand, walk across a garlic, we stopping them this year. Look it. Hey, let me go. Get sucking left, get sucking right, anything inside. I always understood that the country was doing good. Whoa! But parasite.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Yes, good evening, brother Blanchard, and good evening, brother Zai, and good evening, brother Coffee.
Yeah, good night.
What I want to speak about tonight, brothers, believe me, is the way in which I listened to a young journalist being handled at a press conference today. I think that took place.
Mm-hmm.
And it come back to my mind that long time ago I was asking myself, why don't the journalists in Dominica ask the hard question to the Prime Minister?
Yes, yes.
But it's only today I get to realize why they don't ask the hard questions to the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister seems to be a very arrogant man.
Yeah.
The way in which I saw you attack that young girl, if I have children and I decide to go into journalism in Dominica, I will first tell them, no, don't do it. They're going to need this government. Good night, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right. Good night very much. A number of persons that asked talking about it. We're going to play it in a while. Okay, let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. You're right on the queue. That's a minute. That's a minute long. Yeah. Good evening,
I'm sorry to say that, but I feel a lot of Dominicans, at least 60% of Dominicans, are suffering from mad cow disease. Yes, I do believe that, because I cannot understand that a Prime Minister can be doing so much nonsense according to him today, when he say bullshit. That man doing so much nonsense, and Dominicans just sit down there like snails. I believe that in the financial center have mad cow disease, the police station have mad cow disease, all the institutions have mad cow disease. I believe people bound to be mad to have a man doing those kind of things to a country. So many banks in Dominican people so poor, and they sit down there watching that devil. When you see he talking, he grinning. When you see he grinning for you, it's the wickedness that's in his heart, you know. That man have a hatred for Dominicans, you know. And then he said he love. Boy, Jesus Christ, I
understand. I understand the frustration. Okay, well, there were 2 or 3 persons mentioned about that press conference. It's only like a minute long. So let's just hear it again. And the response that you gave to that young journalist. Let's take a quick listen.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister. Leila Langford, DBS News. Prime Minister, very little has been said about the construction of a massive building in Roseau near the credit union. Can you tell us whether it is a government or private sector initiative?
Yeah, you can't want me to go to research. You go to the planning department and you'll find out whose building it is, who shall be the plan.
Okay.
A lot of people have pointed to things that the building belongs But you see what man, this is not a talk show. You see, if we're having a press conference, you ask me a question to give information. If you can get your own research and to get information, to come and ask me, you as a prime minister country, a building is being built in Roseau. Whose building is government building or private citizen? I mean, come on. And this nonsense about this belong to millions. That's bullshit. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. You guys do your research. I'm sure you've done your research. I'm sure you guys know whose building it is. If you go to the registry, you'll see properties in my name. You'll see properties there, properties in Dominica in my name. That's why I own. So we have to stop this foolishness, Dominica, that this thing and of advance. And when this question comes on DBS radio, it concerns me now. That we're advancing questions that are in the sphere of gossip. That's not the better use of my time. If you ask me about the airport, fine. If you ask me about some housing project, it's fine. But you can't ask me as a prime minister, a building in Portsmouth, a building in Roseau, whose building it is. I mean, come on. We have to stop this nonsense in Dominica. It's what? Then I sue you guys, and people say, well, the prime minister suing people. The prime minister shouldn't be suing people because he's the prime minister. He should take that. But nobody stops and.
All right, folks. I just decided to play it because I didn't hear it myself today, and it is clear that the prime minister is upset. I'm not sure what he's upset about, and I honestly didn't find any difficulty in the young lady asking for clarification because it has been rumored out there that the building belongs to Tom, it belongs to Harry, it belongs to different names are being called. So in all fairness, Mr. Prime Minister, I honestly don't see a difficulty in someone asking you if you have an interest. Or probably it should have been rephrased rather than asking him if it's a government building or private. Probably I would have asked Mr. Prime Minister, there's been much talk about this building in Roseau next to the credit union. It has also been rumored that certain ministers of government or persons up there may have an interest in that building. Would you mind sharing any information on the matter? So probably it should have been rephrased, but it's not out of place for to ask a question about a building because there's been much talk about it. It has become a national interest, so to speak, with that massive building in the center of Roseau, and no one knows for sure who is the owner of the building. So, I mean, you have to chill a bit, Mr. PM, chill a bit. I mean, kind of control little arrogance and so on, and you are talking to citizens, you are talking to an employee of DBS Radio at that, and I think you should have been a bit more tactful in the way that you responded to the young lady.
You asking Scary to be tactful.
Let's take one more call. Good evening, caller. You are right on cue.
Good evening,
to you,
gentlemen.
Good evening to you.
Good evening.
I was very much disturbed today by a question that was asked by a young lady to this man. I never call his name. I don't have interest in calling his name.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very rude the way he answered. I mean, I don't think he was angry at the lady. He was angry at Matt. And we just sit there and we take it. We just sit there and we take it. What are Dominicans doing? In the 80s, we would not take it. Why are we taking it now? You know, we need to wake up, smell the coffee. I don't know if it's already too late to smell the coffee. And something needs to be done. You know, it sounds so bad the way he answers, so rude. You know, so Dominicans have to wake up. It's time for us to wake up. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm listening.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, folks. It's now 7:30. And like I said earlier on, the president of the group, Mr. Washburn Coffee, wants to have a little discussion on the way forward for CCM. So we're going to allow him a few minutes to do just that. And if time permits, we could open the lines for your phone calls. All right, Mr. Coffee, please go ahead.
Yeah, well, first of all, I would like to say that when our former president gave his little piece, that is our former president, Zai Emanuel, who is in the house tonight, he used to say, from his heart.
I talk from my heart.
Talk from his heart.
Yes.
You know, I don't want to copy and
no, it's
plagiarize.
No. It's not patented, you know. All right.
That is a talk from my heart, but yeah. I have been juggling around to maybe give it my own connotation. So I come up with something Paola.
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 Right,
a little bit of Creole.
All right, Papa.
You know, so that is where I'll give my piece. Paola.
Paola. All right. Good.
Okay, so the Paola tonight, really, as we say, we want to focus a little bit on CCM and on the future. So I prepared a little piece and I'll try to be as short as possible. We really want to refocus about what CCM is all about, especially as we have just resumed the program. We believe that it is imperative and important to remind you, the listeners, of what CCM is all about, so that you can better understand our purpose, right, our focus, our activities, so that you in turn as listeners can better respond, can better participate, and can better support CCM activities and even become members of the CCM. Because part of our approach in strengthening our organization is to build our membership. So we want to educate you so that you know along this course. As a civil democratic non-government organization, we will be open and transparent to the Dominican public in our plight to be a responsible, democratic, and progressive organization that can have positive impact on the Dominican psyche, improving the political landscape through appropriate and relevant education that would improve political awareness and consciousness and participation, especially among the youth. And in doing that, we want to inform you that we will be factual, that we will do our research, that we will maintain balance in our delivery, and we're not there to just criticize, but of course we will give support where support has to be given, and we will give critical analysis to issues where we believe it is absolutely necessary. I now briefly refer to some aspects of our Constitution as it relates to our aims and objectives. Very briefly, our aims and objectives is to stand as a defender of our country, upholding its democratic principles, and to be a voice of the voiceless, and to be a champion for the cause of justice without fear or favor. Our motto, as enshrined in our Constitution, is together we can, together we will. And our mission is to undertake various patriotic activities so as to accomplish our goals. And when we talk about patriotic activities, we're talking about activities like our program this evening that could be educational. We're talking about social activities, mobilization activities, developmental activities, and to some extent, economic activities. Our vision is to ensure that Dominica remains a democratic country, irrespective of age, gender, social status, or political affiliation. And in so doing, ensuring that Dominicans will be able to enjoy his or her constitutional rights. And when we're talking about constitutional rights, we want to include as well the preservation of human rights. To continue, you may contact us, the CCM members, for any clarification or to express your interest in support of our activities or to make any financial contributions. As we inform you in our last program, in addition to our institutional strengthening of the Concerned Citizens Movement, that is, as it relates to strengthening our internal membership, our organizational base, our programming and finances, but as well, CCM plans to focus and give priority to electoral reform and fresh elections, working in collaboration with the Electoral Reform Commission and Coalition and its affiliates. We will be consistent with our objective, vision, and mission, or consistent with our objective, vision, and mission. We will be a watchdog on behalf of the general public on governance, public policy and services, especially as it relates to the rule of law, good governance, preserving our democracy, integrity in the public service, efficiency and effectiveness particularly as it relates to government business, public procurement, especially with regards to tendering processes. We will be concerned about cost effectiveness and value for money in the implementation of government projects. We will be championing human rights issues, constitutional rights, public sector reform as it relates to the youth family, small business development, agriculture, health, education, local government, and so forth. The health public services, especially as it relates to the provision of water, health care, solid waste, and so forth. And of course, we will give focus to corruption in government, nepotism, dissent. We believe that as NGOs, we have the right to dissent and to give our opinions and to make our critical analysis. We will be very keen in looking at discrimination in all its forms. We will give our critique to social and economic programs, local government, cultural industries, large capital intensive projects like the airport development, and issues like youth employment. So these are some of the issues, and we plan in our subsequent programs. We alone will not be discussing those issues. We plan from time to time to bring in professionals, not only on the radio, but in our district programs, which we hope to hold from time to time. District meetings, town hall meetings. We plan to bring other people who can give professional advice and opinions where some of these issues are concerned. But our focus will continue on the electoral reform, because it is still a very relevant and current issue. It is the major public issue at this time, especially as it pertains to the election processes, which are fundamental and critical to our democratic process and good governance. We need electoral reform to fix the problems emanating from the recent sham elections, which made a mockery of our democratic process and of parliament, and to trigger fresh elections in Dominica at the soonest possible time. We reiterate the call for the Electoral Commission to deliver on its constitutional responsibility and mandate to the Dominican people. We call on the chairman, Mr. Duncan Stowe. I recall when you were elected to your post, I personally met you as a friend. We used to live in Greens Lane, played some cricket and football together. I congratulated you. I told you that I expect the best from you, but I know that you will have challenges. But Mr. Duncan Stowe, you have yet to build my confidence in your ability at the Electoral Commission. So I'm really calling on you as a friend, Mr. Stowe, to act in the interest of the Dominican public. The Chief Elections Officer, who incidentally is a relative of mine, I'm calling on you, sir, to exercise your constitutional responsibility to the Dominican public. I heard the briefs as we talk about electoral reform. I listened to the brief response from the Prime Minister today in his press conference. All I will say, Carl, you're joking, Carl. Same old, same old. The PM seemed to be deviating from the fact that the government hired Mr. Byron. Mr. Byron is not your boss, sir. You are Mr. Byron's boss. And if you have given him an exercise and you believe that he is extending his time and wasting time, you need to call on him. your responsibility, you have the final responsibility, Mr. PM, to call for the report. It's not Mr. Byron that has to be there dilly-dallying and you just agreeing with the dilly-dallying of Mr. Byron. But that is the Prime Minister in his own usual self, in his normal modus operandi, playing games with the Dominican public by tactically delaying the reform process. And just to maybe as a brief update, we are still in the spirit of working with the Electoral Reform Coalition. I need to tell you that we have put an interim executive in place, of which I have been recently been placed in the responsibility of public relations officer. We have put a interim executive in place at the ERC, and we have taken decisions in terms of some letters that will be going out immediately to our affiliates, to the Electoral Commission, and to Mr. Byron. So we are not sleeping, but the fact remains that as Electoral Reform Coalition, or working with the Electoral Reform Coalition, we have written to the Commission and to Mr. Byron, and we are yet to get the kind of responses that we expect, and that continues to be a problem and a frustration. So that's where we are. We cannot give you everything in one night because we have to make time for you, the listeners. But as we seek to bring about a new approach, a new feeling, a reactivation of the CCM, we believe that as we resume our program, this is the right time to educate you so as to solidify your responsiveness and your active participation in the activities of the Concerned Citizens Movement.
All right, thank you very much, Brother Washby. You could not have said it any better. And just to take off from where you left out, all of what you have said there can only happen with the support of the general public, both in terms of the finances and the supporting us whenever we call them out, when we decide to have any form of protest or any discussion. We need your support. All right, folks? So we called on you last week, and we said again this week that in order for us to stay on air, we need your financial support. You notice that we offer about 3 months. It was strictly because of our finances, plain and simple. And we decided to come back up because we're getting some assistance, but we want you to continue to help us in that vein. Okay, we have an account at Central Credit Union at Goodwill and Portsmouth. You can go in there and make your contributions. You can also drop off your contributions at Q95. We are 100% sure that the young ladies there will do a good job and to collect it from you and to let us know who presented it and the amount that was paid. Okay, we have full trust and confidence in the employees at Q95. So feel free and feel that you are putting the money in a safe place if you drop it off at Q95 or at the credit unions. For you overseas, it is usual MoneyGram and Western Union. We are calling on you, please, to support the movement. So all of what Washburn Coffee said that the president can actually happen. We are on a drive. We are there to make CCM the group it was before and even better. But we need your support. All right, let's take one call. We see somebody has been there for some time. Good evening, caller. You're right in queue.
Hello, good evening.
So yes, sir.
That monster we create for Dominica, like he's Dominica God there. If we give this gentleman by the end of this year, we will put our hand on our head. We'll be sorry in Dominica. We need to come out any means necessary to get that government out of office so we can straighten our country. There's things that are going on there, and every time it's coming up with something new. The Scarlet is not in charge of the electoral system.
That's correct.
All right? We didn't Scarlet and pay him so much money, over $500,000 to give us something. Up to now, he keep delaying it because he know what his plan is all about. And we just sitting there and listening to that man talking nonsense in our head. We need to come out and do what we have to do in order to save our country, else we will put our hand. By the end of this year, I don't think we'll have a Dominica again now, if it continue like that. Wow. Scarlet is putting his plan in, otherwise we stay in and talk.
Right.
Let's stop talking and do what we have to do.
Mark Sean.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I'm ready when are you ready?
Okay, sir. I support you 100%.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk and more action.
Yes, we need to put action. It's more than enough time.
Very good, yes.
Yeah.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
We agree with you 100% that you know the battle should be also on the streets. I agree with you 100%. Overdue. And but relative to our funds raising drive, Brother John, we are also appealing, and I think you did some of it, to the members, the Dominicans outside of Dominica. And where we will be coming to you because we have some ideas to raise funds to get us involved much more deeply materially in the communities in Dominica. And when I say material, I mean face to face, right? Not through radio, but face to face, where we could come and have probably even knock on doors, get into some homes. Because what we are lacking in the resistance, is the ability to move people.
Yeah.
That is lacking. And that has to be done on the basis of how we could intensify issues. When I say intensify, I mean to make issues favorable to us, not favorable to the regime. You see what the regime is doing, and it is doing it with particular resources, money. So they create intensity through cash. Can we create intensity through cash in kind and cash? At this point, what we have to do must be in kind, because we have got no big bulk of money. So the in-kind intensity, which is an idea that has worked all over the world. You see it work in the United States with the civil rights movement. You see it work with Nelson Mandela in South Africa. You see it work all over the world, where you get together and you get on the ground. The strategy, the objective is to get on the ground. And I agree with the president 100% that there are means and ways and methods to get on the ground. And we will be applying all of what I think the president just outlined to get people, to get a movement going, to get rid of the shadow state, according to the scribe.
Yes, indeed. No more shadow of state.
That's right.
Good evening, caller. You are right on cue.
Hi. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good
yeah,
evening.
man, that's Aaron here. Now, who's that language? The man.
Aaron Thomas.
Harlem.
Born and bred. I want to thank you guys for a remarkable job. I want to thank Brother Zah, Brother Washburn, Coffee, and you, John. I know there must be tremendous amount of work you've done to see the revival of this program and all that stuff.
Yep.
And I, of course, as I explained to John, what I have to do, I'll do what I have to do when I have to do it. Two things. I'm very happy, Washburn, you mentioned the revival of the elections committee.
Yeah, the electoral coalition.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That's a great move to keep the movement going, to keep this still under pressure. So I want to commend you for that revival. And again, I want to thank you for committing yourself to play a leading role in that thing here. And as I explained, John, I sent you this text regarding the question from the young journalist from DBS. First of all, you know the Brian guy that raised a similar inquisitive question, and Skerritt was upset, and the guy had to leave DBS.
Yes.
The young lady asked, the young lady asked whether government, not Roosevelt Skerritt, whether it was a government or private sector building. A government building does not belong to Roosevelt Skerritt. So why is he getting angry about a government building? Why should it be on his name at the registry if the young lady asks about government? So you can see what the machinations taking place there. So is government Roosevelt Skerritt? She didn't ask if if he had a personal interest. If she had asked him that question, it would be about him. But she asked whether it was a government building, a government of Dominica. And there's no business for government of Dominica building the name of Roosevelt Skerritt at the registry. So what is that story? And then here's language. This is a man, he talks about not a talk show. That was a talk show, Moon Pally Powell on the radio, and this is a talk show. During the elections, he said to people, "Chupul, you don't come." And now he's saying that the question is a bullshit question. That's from a prime minister who's always reminding us that he's the prime minister. Why should he ask the prime minister a bullshit question? He used the word bullshit. What an excellent, immaculate example for the young school children, the young people, and all youth and people in Dominica when they have to address the public. Cuba 95 will never tolerate that kind of language on the radio station. Yet the prime minister, who believes it's the government, says it's a bullshit, uses the word bullshit. Remarkable, immaculate. And I want to hear the Christian people, because that language here was totally unnecessary and uncalled for the prime minister. Great job, gentlemen. Continue the great work, and I thank you for your sacrifice as usual. God bless you, my bro.
All right, thank you very much. Let's take a couple of calls. Someone wants to weigh in the discussion. Good evening, caller. You are right on cue.
Yes, good evening to you, Mr. Blanchard, and good evening to your listeners.
Yes, sir.
You know, I listened to that clip out there from the young lady, the journalist from DBS Radio. And a responsible, caring leader, a CEO would that would be a simple answer to that question. I mean, you know, you have no interest in no building next to the credit union. Ma'am, I've been hearing that too, but I have no interest. I don't have no part of that, ma'am. If you want further information on that, ma'am, you might want to check the planning division, etc., to get the result that you want. But you know, about when you have a low life, like that's why I always ask myself. I've been asking on the talk show whether Skerrit was born or he was hatched, you know, because his behavior is a low down moron person. I mean, I cannot. This is just unacceptable. The people of Dominica, and let me just say something important. In 2019, Skerrit put chaos in our country where he sent for RSS just for him to be able to thief another election. He was successful in doing that. After he got inaugurated, he said in the first 100 days, that matter will be resolved. 2019 to tonight, Mr. Blanchard, that's how many days? How many days now? Hello?
That's 4 years. 4 years. 2019.
It's to now.
It's 4 years.
It's more than 100 days.
Yeah.
He coming again. He went in 2022. He stole his way in to win another election, another election. And Dominicans just sit down there. Oh, they're afraid to die. RSS will come. Boy, my brother, good night. So blessed. Take care. Bye.
All right. Thank you very much, my brother. And you take care as well. All right, folks, now 7:54, just about 6 more minutes to go. So if you're going to call, please do that at this point in time. Let's just listen to our partner, Hunter.
Come down here to advise us on how we should take care. We shut up to kill a fly flow where on the damn cow die. I wonder why.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue. Good evening, caller.
Hello.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah. Okay. Good evening, sir.
I'm saying good evening for the longest while.
Yeah, we're not hearing you.
I want to ask a question. What is the difference between Satan and Skerrit? And number two, there is a time, because I understood he's trying to close down that radio station, the voice of the poor people. There is a time that we will not be able to speak in Dominica. If we say scare, we don't even have to say read. He's sending men to get us. Look out, Dominicans, or you sit down there and you getting the crumbs from Satan while he have the bulk, and are you playing like boo boo, or you playing like doom. Look out, Dominicans. Skerrit is on a mission to destroy Dominicans. Look out. People warning all and don't to hear. You sit down there like Maji when Skerrit doing all his bullshit. But all will suffer, you know, the children will suffer. Will suffer under the Chinese, or you taking warning. Dominicans, wake up and take warning.
We get the point, caller. We get the point. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. we have a little voice note there from our partner Tony Caesar from Scottsdale, who resides at Totola, I believe. So let's listen to what our brother has to say. Just give him this. It's just 1 minute.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Brother Zah, Brother John Blanchard. Whenever you see I send a voice note, it's because I cannot call. Brother Blanchard, I want Mr. Scary to hear me asking this question tonight again, and I will continue to ask it, because what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, this question I'm asking him, I must continue doing that. Mr. Roosevelt Scary, I always call you Mr., but it coming to a place where I even want to change that now. But you see, I thank God for Pastor Randy, because when I feel so, I always remember what he does say to encourage others and myself. He always telling people to respect the office you hold, and that's good. But I believe the time is coming when he himself will begin to say, no, enough is enough. But Mr. Roosevelt Scary, let me ask you this. Will Dominicans lose their lives at the expense of you staying in office? I'm asking you. You're not answering me, but I'll continue to ask. Secondly, from the time people were talking about this building going in Roseau, I've never said nothing, because sometimes people can be saying things and there's always two other sides, sometimes to a story. But Mr. Scary, when I listen to the young lady asking you this question today and how you answered, something is wrong. And it's with the same breath, Brother John, if you know this young lady, I am concerned about her livelihood, her job. Brother John, if you know her, this young lady, give her my number, because she's seemingly she's a good.
All right, folks, this is it for this caller. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue. Good evening, caller. That's the answer here. All right, folks. I think we have come to the end of the program. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Yes, good evening, Brother John.
To you, sir.
Yeah, good evening. I'm looking at the clock and I see the time almost finished. It's finished, right?
Yeah, I just heard your voice note.
Yeah, and I reached home late.
You heard it, right?
I sent that voice note. Did you have a time to play that voice note?
I just did. Yeah.
But I must, since I called, let me ask Mr. Scary that question again. Mr. Scary, will Dominicans lose their lives at the expense of you staying in power? I'm asking you this because what you plan with our proper electoral reform, you call it any name you want, but what is your plan? Is it that you want Dominicans to lose their lives at the expense of you staying in power? I'm asking you, please answer me. I never beg nobody, but I am so concerned. I am begging you to answer me, please. Tell me if Dominicans are going to lose their lives at the expense of you staying in office. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, Brother Caesar. Thanks for your question. I hope you heard the question. Should I answer the question for him? All right, folks. It's now 7:59. Let's just take a few seconds and just give some closing remarks before we leave the studio. Who's going first, Brother or the President?
Yeah, let me just. Guys, good job again. Thanks to the scribe. CCM members, we're here, and we're asking for your contribution. I want to just emphasize what Brother John said a while ago. In order for us to move forward, we have to be on air as well as we have to be on the ground in communities. And there's a lot planned, as the President explained. So just to reiterate, what have been said here already is, if you could walk into Q95 and make a contribution, we would appreciate that. If you could send it to our credit union accounts, if you have access to the credit union at Goodwill and Portsmouth, we would appreciate that. For the diaspora, I think, it could be wired, right, Brother John?
Yes.
It could be wired.
Yeah.
And please do not give individuals. And we want to make that quite clear.
I said so last week.
I remember you saying that. I just want to reinforce it. Money should not be sent to individuals unless those individuals are being authorized by CCM. All right, Brother John. God willing, I'll be back, God willing, next Friday to keep this very deep discussion on. Brother John?
Yes, well, it's for me to thank all the listeners and viewers for their attention and their participation tonight. They will realize that we are in a renewed vigor as an organization. We are strengthening ourselves internally, and we are looking forward to improve performance in terms of our activities, and especially as it relates to improving the lives and protecting the lives of our people and protecting our democracy. So we are saying to you that we cannot do it all alone. It has to be a team approach. It has to take ourselves and yourselves to make it work. So we are asking for your divine intervention and your most valuable support and contribution. So see you next time on our programming.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And let me also thank you, the listening public, for your participation this evening in at our program. We always appreciate you calling. And I know, of course, we have many more persons out there listening that may not call. So we also thank you as well. And for those prayer warriors, we also want to thank you. And of course, we want to continue to request of you, ask of you for your financial support to keep us on the air. So with these few words, let me just wish you a happy Friday evening, and I hope that you have also have a blessed weekend. Go to church on Sunday, praise your God, and continue to support the movement in Dominica for change. Because unless we are united, unless we come together with one common goal, we won't succeed. So we have to join hands with opposition forces to ensure not only electoral reform, but to ensure that we get these guys off our backs and we have a country, bring back our country, take back our country to its rightful place where we can enjoy our milk and honey once again. So do have yourself a blessed weekend. May God bless you and good evening.
After day, I listen to every word that you have to say. Yeah. You say that you want to build this land, and how you let every Dominican. Those are promises, mommy. So many like you have come and gone. Too many still singing this same song. So many taking me for a fool. Too many treating me like a mule. And your ignorant polarization causing untold destruction in this little island. Mommy, tell me the other time. Yabasaki is like Gramophone in wine. Promises, I can't pay my bill on promise. Promises, I can't go to shop on promise. Promises, I can't take the bus on promise. Promises, I can't pay school fees. Oh. Yeah. Oh. You're again, yeah.
Party. Soca Fusion, keeping you updated with all new and latest soca music.
You're in the mix with DJ Shan, and this
The road them lock off, only party done. Them girl don't want go home. They wanna have some fun till Monday. Welcome to my private party. The rules apply. Only rules up inside this party. Tonight every girl there is mine. So girl just bring it up and just take that walk. I check me rum and I want to boy. Party partner. They sexy girl and them up me mad. Welcome to my bedroom carnival. My bedroom bacchanal. Throw clothes up in there. Only costume and lingerie, baby. This is my bedroom carnival. My bedroom bacchanal. Throw go down in tongue. Girl, that's a costume and come wind it.